Hello and welcome to the latest game dissection from Megacool. My name's Ben, and today we'll be taking a deep dive into the game Trivia Crack 2, looking at how it got to the top of the charts, how it stayed there, and some of the things we at Megacool think it could do even better. Chances are you've already heard of Trivia Crack 2, but here's a quick bit of background. This is a sequel to the immensely popular Trivia Crack and was released in August 2018, where it quickly climbed to the top of the download charts. The game is developed by Etermax, a company who have made their name in word, puzzle, and trivia games, including of course the original Trivia Crack. As always with our game dissections, we'll walk through the first time user experience and break down each aspect of Trivia Crack 2 in detail. Let's get started by finding the game on the App Store. I open the App Store and search Trivia Crack, and the original is unsurprisingly the first result to pop up. Scroll down a bit past another game, and there it is, Trivia Crack 2. Now the first thing to say about the listing is that it's extremely colourful and playful looking. Quizzes can be quite dry and dull, but this looks fun and cartoony. Notice the choice of subjects that they call out in some of these screenshots. Westerns, cinema, zombies. Much more interesting and engaging than the standard quiz topics of history or geography, for example. It also has clear calls to action at the top of each screenshot. The description text isn't too dense, it's engaging, promising of a large amount of questions and collectibles. There is some slightly confusing VIP membership text here, but it's kept till last, so it doesn't lessen the impact of the rest of the description. Okay, let's go ahead and download the game. So immediately on opening the game, you get asked for notification permissions, with no real incentive or information as to what this might entail or why it would be good for you as the player. Then I got the T&Cs alert. I actually went to see what the terms were, and it kind of messed up. It opened a browser window, and then there was no way to get back to the game without closing the web page and manually reopening the game. You do also need to sign in before you can play, which is quite unusual but makes sense as a multiplayer game, although there is no guest option. Facebook Connect was nice and smooth, and then I can get into the game itself. There's a nice easing in here considering there's a lot of information on this splash screen, but because it's greyed out and you're directly addressed by a character, it's not overwhelming. It still hints at more complexity and depth to follow. Trivia Crack 2 also trades on the fact that quiz games are a well-known and established format, so it doesn't need to teach you too much about gameplay. You know you're going to get questions and you'll have to answer them to progress. That said, it's great that this walks you through these steps and explains the rules clearly. It's always obvious where you need to tap and what that's going to do. What isn't super obvious is what these boring and fun buttons do. I guess you're providing feedback to the app, but it doesn't explicitly tell you that this will influence the future of the game. For example, does this stop a certain type of question from appearing in your session? Or is it just something that the developers will take on board in a future update? As you can see, my sports knowledge is unsurpassed. Okay, this question I didn't know the answer to, and I guessed wrong, but it looks like I can use gold bars to keep playing. That's nice, but also a little confusing. How did I get those gold bars? Is 100 a lot? How do I get more of them? It's fairly common for games to say something along the lines of, you use gold bars to continue without losing a life. As it's your first time playing, you can have this one for free, which avoids any anxiety or confusion for the player while explaining the mechanic. I keep going, and I don't know this question either. Clearly history is not my strong point. This time I don't get an option to use my gold bars. Is that because I've already spent them, or is it a one-time thing per game? It's not clear to me as a new player. Note that I've played for a good few minutes here, and it's only now that I get hit with my first ad. That's a pretty long time and makes me feel encouraged that I'm not going to be inundated with ads during my time playing the game. This takes me back to the game's main menu. Note that there's a small, now ever-present banner ad at the top, which wasn't visible before. All the same, it's fairly unobtrusive, even if the ad itself is a little dull and not very eye-catching. Now the game introduces its collectible metagame. It's good to know there's a reason to keep playing beyond just answering questions. And there's the answer to how I get the gold bars. It also looks like there are a lot of characters to collect and prizes for doing so. Again, this points to more depth and more reasons to keep playing. Okay, here there's a flashing start mission button calling for my attention. I don't totally know why I would want to start a mission instead of playing a new game, or what the difference is, but let's check it out. Okay, so it's quests, rewards for playing the game. Let's jump into another game then. I've played a few games now, so let's see what some of the other buttons do. Let's try Tower Duel. It explains the rules up front, it's a slight twist on the usual format, and I also apparently need to use 1 life, which is not something I'd considered before. Do I have many lives? How do I get more of them? I later find out they refill over time like a fairly standard timer mechanic. I got this question wrong and decided not to use my gold bars to not lose my turn. I get an ad, but it's not totally clear what the punishment was here. I think it means I have 10 possible failures before I'm eliminated, hence why I'm down to 9 and my opponent is still on 10. These games last for 5 minutes, during which I got plenty wrong as well as right, and had to watch an ad each time before I could jump back in. There are other modes as well, such as Daily Challenge, essentially lots of different ways to play the same core trivia gameplay. Some of this is a little overwhelming in terms of not being sure where I should be focusing my attention as a player, but all the same it's nice to know that there is so much depth. Next, let's spend some time looking at the social features of Trivia Crack 2, which will have played some part in its success. Trivia Crack 2 comes with some quite extensive social features, including global and local rankings. These rankings are both individual and for teams, which introduces another social element. You can apply to join these teams or create your own with friends. Being part of a team will act as another hook to keep players playing, with social pressure to keep you coming back to the game. Next we'll look at the Invite Friends button. This gives a number of options for players to choose from as to what platform they want to share to. I've chosen Twitter, and here's the tweet. Not too engaging, doesn't appear to include an image or any of the colourful assets that we see in the game itself. This is actually one of the few areas where Trivia Crack 2 misses an opportunity. There are plenty of times where it would be good to offer the player the chance to share, but it doesn't. When a player gets a question right, or even wrong, that would be a great time to prompt for a share to social. It could be framed as challenging their friends on social media to see if they could do better. Equally, when a player unlocks a new character, that would be a good opportunity for a share. Finally, it's interesting to note that if you head into settings, players are subscribed to a newsletter by default. We've seen ourselves that newsletters can be powerful, personal ways to reactivate or re-engage users, so this is a useful step for the game and their developers. That's all we've got for this game dissection. For even more in-depth analysis of Trivia Crack 2, check out our blog post, which you can find on megacool.co/blog. Thanks for watching, and look out for more game dissections coming soon.